live. It is June 13th, 2025. Yeah, is it 2025? I believe it's 2025. Welcome to Java City Literary Lounge. I am your host, Sharon Blount, and tonight, are you guys ready? Tonight, I don't often fangirl, right? 'Cause I've met a lot of the authors, but I'm fangirling tonight. We have the legendary, the icon, the motivator, the innovator, Donna Hill. Welcome to Java City Literary Lounge. I'm so excited to have you here tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sharon. That's a lot of
Oh,
adjectives. Thank you.
oh, but they're true. But they're true. But they're absolutely true.
Appreciate
And I'm
that.
happy I surprised you. I can tell I surprised you a little bit, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I was
It is
like, oh, okay.
absolutely the truth. I am so excited. See that
Yeah, and
this
I
is
haven't
why
seen you
I
in. I'm, it's been years since I've
yep,
seen you.
Ella Curry,
Um,
Ella Curry
yes,
event. Yep.
yeah, that was a
Yep, I
long, long,
remember that
long
day.
time ago.
Yep,
Yeah,
and I
that
was
was a
skinny
long
then,
time
honey.
ago.
Now, mm-mm. I was the struggle is real
Listen,
now.
for real, yes, it is.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like, who is this person in the mirror? Because it can't be me.
yeah. Oh, I'm like, really? And a couple of weeks ago, I moved. I sat back, and I'm like, what is this? What is this behind me? And I was like, oh my god, it's a fat bro. So the struggle off
Oh,
topic, y'all. But the struggle
I
is
know, right?
real. Great to see you because I remember that night because I met you, Bernice McFadden, and I think Mary.
Yes.
Is it not Monroe? It was Mary. Mary B.
Morrison?
Morrison. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's Morrison, but she had a different name too. Honey B.
Honeybee. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's yeah. And I was so I was in fangirl heaven because you guys are some of the first authors, black authors that I read. So I had such a wonderful time. So that was my first time meeting you, and it was a wonderful occasion. I'm so excited that you remember
Yes, I
that you remember
remember.
that because yeah,
Yeah, I remember.
I'm so excited about that. I'm still fangirl about that night. So thank you. You were and I was telling her, I said, "Oh, girl, she was just as cool as you think." You know how you meet a celebrity, and I call you guys my celebrities, right? Meet a celebrity, and you be like, "Wish I wouldn't have met him," you know. But that was not how I felt after I met you. You felt like the same person I met online than when I met you in person as well. So
Oh,
I'm a
that's
little
good.
excited that you remember that.
Yes, yes,
All
yes.
right. So tonight, for people who possibly don't know who Donna Hill is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh wow, let's see. As a writer, I started off
Mm-hmm.
as a writer in like 1989, and I
Mm-hmm.
was writing short stories for the Confession magazines. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
started. And then I was doing their advice columns, and that's how I kind of like learned how to edit and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Asia Brooks Harris was the editor of the magazine that I was writing for, and she was
Mm-hmm.
telling me that my short stories were getting to be a little too long, and why don't I think about possibly writing a book? So,
Oh wow.
back then we weren't around. So you
No,
didn't
we was
see
not.
black romances like anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I was like, a book? Like, what are you talking about? I knew I liked writing, but I couldn't see how I was going to stretch,
Mm-hmm.
a 15-page short story into a novel. But she was really, really supportive. And
Mm-hmm.
I was working at an architectural company at the time. And I decided I was going to write a story about an architect and an interior designer. So I started working on this story. And Athasia took me to my very first writers conference, and I
Mm-hmm.
went to the writers conference. And when you go to the writers conference, you always have to like submit your story ahead of time. You meet with an editor, they talk to you about it,
Uh-huh.
etc. So it was sort of that pitch thing. And I met with an editor, and she said to me that she liked the story, but maybe I can soften up my character a little bit. And then she asked me, did my characters have to be black? And I was like, what?
Oh, oh, oh,
Yes.
oh,
So this was
wow.
1989 in New
Mm-hmm.
York. And so I was like, well, yeah. So she says, well, I'm not telling you to change it or anything, but if you do,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be happy to look at it again. And so
Wow.
essentially, she was telling me as long as my character stayed black, she really wasn't interested in the story, even though it was a good story.
Mm-hmm.
And I was totally disheartened.
Yeah.
But Nathasia was very supportive again and very insistent. And I kept looking around, and I stumbled across this ad in the back of Writer's Digest magazine, and it
Mm-hmm.
was for Odyssey Books. And Odyssey Books was just starting out, and their
Mm-hmm.
ad was looking for African American romances. And I was like, oh, that's what I write, know? And so I sent off the chapters that I had written, and I followed all of the instructions about writing the cover letter and the synopsis and blah
Yeah.
blah blah. So I did all of that and I sent it in, and but I had only done probably about 5 chapters of the book because I had gotten
Mm-hmm.
discouraged. And um like, I don't know how long ago, however many weeks afterwards, I get a letter back saying that they wanted to publish the book and could I send the rest of it. But
Ooh.
I didn't write the rest of it. So I was like, oh my God. So I had to start, and I was this is pre-computer, so I was working on a
Mm-hmm.
typewriter with, carbon
Wow.
paper and whiteout and all that kind of stuff. And so I typed up the
Wow.
manuscript. I would, when I on my way to work, I would write longhand in my notebook on the train going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'd write on my way home, and then when I put my kids to bed at night, I would start typing on my Selectric typewriter until I finished. And I submitted
Wow.
it, and it was the first book out of the publishing house, first
Mm-hmm.
contemporary, and Mildred Riley, she wrote the first
Oh.
historical. So our 2 books came out, and that's how my career started. I wrote 2 books for them, and
Mm-hmm.
shortly after, Kensington Publishing started Arabesque,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
Arabesque was, starting to build their line. And my publisher at
Mm-hmm.
Odyssey, Letitia People, she was basically carrying the company out of her own money because we didn't have
Oh, wow.
distribution during that time. We didn't get shelf space or anything because the rule was, or the idea was, that Black people didn't read, and that they weren't, and that these
Yep.
romances weren't going to sell. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep.
but once Kensington, which is like a major publisher, decided, wow,
Mm-hmm.
Black people really do read these books, and they
We do.
launched Arabesque, and so I went over to Arabesque, and I've been writing ever since. So like, Rooms of the Heart was my first novel with Odyssey, and that came out in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been writing ever since. So that
Wow, I can't believe I've been reading since then too.
yeah,
Wow.
so I've been writing all that
I was
time.
young reading those grown-up books.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been a minute.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations. How many books do you have published as of now?
I think it's like I have to count again. People keep telling me different numbers, but it's like a little over 90. It's like close to 100 titles that I have printed in print now.
Wow.
Hmm. Yeah.
My goodness. Girl. And let me tell you, I want to say this. I People often don't give people their flowers while they're here. So I want to be able to do that to you. I want to say first, thank you for this little black girl who never saw black people love, right? Besides on TV every once in a while. But I didn't think black people had romance because I was reading Danielle Steele. I was reading Jackie Collins. I was reading all those, and they're still good authors. So I don't want to. Don't. I hope nobody takes that wrong. So when I first pick up that first book, and I'm like, people love. I know that. So thank you for representing wasn't popular, how you wasn't getting paid enough, but thank you because you inspired women like me, and I know others, to write, to continue to read, because we see ourselves in your books. So thank you very much. So I wanted to be able to say
Yes,
that to
thank
you.
you. You're absolutely welcome.
Thank you. All right. So I had to say that, y'all. Let's get into some of these questions. If you have a comment or a question, please put it in. Welcome, Alicia. And we do have a few other people. They said they're not showing up on the numbers, but they said they're texting me. I'm here, but I'm not sure why they're not putting it here. But welcome, everybody. Come on in and speak. We're not going to bite. Again, if you have another question, please come on in. Yes, Donna is such an inspiration. That is Alicia Evans. Thank you.
Oh,
Sugar and Spice Book Club, correct?
yes,
Please
yeah,
put your book club. I think it's Sugar and Spice. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's spice and sugar or sugar and spice. So please correct
that's
me
right.
in the comments when you can. All right. So let's get into the first question. First of all, thank you for your introduction. And I think you might have answered this first question. When did you decide to start taking writing seriously? But I think you already told us that. So we're going to skip on to,
Okay.
if you want to, you can answer. Do you think you are
It's
ready?
interesting because I was always writing, even as a
Mm-hmm.
teenager when I was in grade school. I mean, I guess I was sort of destined to be a romance writer
Mm-hmm.
because my early, introduction to writing was writing love letters for my girlfriends to give to their boyfriends
Mm-hmm.
when I was in grammar school. And
Wow.
so I used to like string together song titles and make these letters to give to my friends to give to their little boyfriends. So that was sort of like my introduction into the romance
Okay.
world.
Okay.
And then I thought I was going to be a poet. Because as a teenager, we always have, we're always in pain and we have all of these angst. And so I thought I was going to be a poet. And so I wrote a lot of poetry, but I kept them in a notebook and I didn't do anything with it. And so during the time that I was growing up, I did not see Black writers, especially writers who were doing contemporary type work. And so for me, I didn't think that that was something I could be because there was no representation. Like you're saying, oh,
Yeah.
you see me, and that gave me inspiration to be able to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have that. So I never believed that I could be a writer. I knew I liked
Wow.
to do it, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think that that was something that I could become. So I figured, I'll be a secretary like my mother. So I
Wow.
went to secretarial school and, took typing and all that kind of stuff. But I was always, always writing, scribbling on stuff and reading and things like that. So it was always there. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think until it was like an epiphany, to be quite frank. I had gone
Mm-hmm.
to church one Sunday and I actually prayed on it and I said, just tell me what to do with this thing that I
Mm-hmm.
love doing. What can I do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And um, that following week, I went into the city and I went to Coliseum Books and I went to the how-to section and I bought my first Writer's Digest book.
Mm-hmm.
I bought magazines, how to write short stories, how to do nonfiction, all sorts of how-to books on writing, and that's how I actually found Sterling magazines, where I met Naphasia.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so one thing sort of led to the other, and
Mm-hmm.
she really was the person that said, you can do this, and
Wow.
that's kind of like how it happened. Yeah.
Wow. To hear you. Well, first, thank you for sharing that. To hear you say you didn't really see anybody else, that it hurts because I've had, and I say you, Rochelle, and I always say her last name wrong, right?
Rochelle Alice.
Yes, I used to call her Alears, right? And they were like, "Girl, that's not." Aller. So you, Rochelle, and Brenda, and actually Doris Johnson. I remember Doris Johnson. You guys. Uh, I've had that. So to know you didn't and still continued to follow your dreams and pursue writing, that is kudos to you, because I know that is not easy when you look for others like, well, am I doing the right thing or am I doing it right? And you still kept at it. And we're happy. I know I'm happy because I own every last one of your books. So I'm happy that you continue to do it, even when you didn't have direction on how to do it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. And I know everybody else does too. So here's my next question for you.
Mhm.
Looking back on your journey, what story or character has stayed with you the most and why? I'm gonna tell you
Probably the
mine.
last character I wrote. Male or female?
It could be whatever it's your favorite, the one that stays with you.
I would probably say Quentin Parker,
Yep, that's mine. Yeah.
and the and he was so real to me because he
Hmm.
basically embodied a lot of the characteristics of men that I knew,
Yeah.
that were complex, that were hard on the outside but soft on the inside, that
Hmm.
had this creative streak. And so
Yep.
he embodied all of that. And, he was sort of that um, dark, brooding kind of character that you
Hmm.
rooted for. You wanted him to, finally find some happiness.
Yep.
And so he was probably him and Rafe Lawson, those
Oh
two.
yeah.
Um,
Wow.
those two are my
Yeah.
favorite characters. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh God. Yep. And I don't know why I don't know how I forgot about Rafe, because Quentin has been my favorite, because I was like, I just want to love him until until he can know how to show it right. I love
Yes.
the character. He felt so real to me. That was my first. I always say he's my first book bae, or my first book boyfriend, right? Because he was just right there. I don't know. That's how you know your writing is good, when someone is in love with a fictional character, because honey, he was real to me. So yeah,
Yes.
I
Yes. He
rooted.
was he was real to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. And it's so funny because when I wrote the first book,
Mm-hmm.
um, and he was with Nikita,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want him with Nikita as a writer.
Wow.
I wanted him with
Wow.
Maxine, and Maxine was this character that I had in my head from like years before I started writing. And so that was sort of
Mm-hmm.
the story that I wanted to tell. And so
Mm-hmm.
in the original version, in that first novel, he
Mm-hmm.
winds up with Maxine. And so my
Oh.
editor at the time, Monica Harris, she said, "You can't do this in a romance because you set him up with Nikita. They have to be together." And I was like,
Yep.
"But that's not real. That wouldn't really
Mm-hmm.
happen because he really loves this other girl."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Okay." So then I wrote the second book. I
Let
get
me
them
show
together, but then I kill her off.
you.
And so I kill off Nikita so that he could be with Maxine. And
Yeah.
that's just the way that it's going to be. So I was going to fix that. And it was so
Yeah.
funny because, like you're saying, he was so real to you. And,
Mm-hmm.
I was getting letters from readers like, how could you do that? And,
Well, I was
how
going to ask
could you
you, how did
kill
that go?
Nikita?
Mm-hmm.
She's a main character. Blah, blah. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, listen,
That was
that's just the way
awesome.
it goes.
Yeah. And you know what? But to me, that made the storyline realistic, because it does happen.
Yeah.
So it made it realistic to me. So I you know what? I guess because I wasn't upset that you killed Nikita
Nikita.
off. Or, yeah, I wasn't. I was just happy when he found love. Like you knew he loved her. So
Yeah.
guess that I guess I wasn't mad. Yeah, I wasn't. I wasn't mad at
Oh,
all.
so you
So
you
I
wasn't
was
one of the
like,
ones that wrote to me complaining.
no, ma'am. See, one, cliffhangers don't bother me. you know how some readers like, oh, I hate cliffhangers. That don't bother me. And I always like a good twist in the story because if it's too predictable, it can kind of get boring to me. So when I
Yeah,
read your stories, they're not predictable. So I was in love with Quentin. It didn't matter, right? So
yeah,
if she
yeah. He was
left,
just
it
so
didn't matter.
dreamy. Oh,
Yes,
and he was a
girl.
musician.
Yeah, yeah. I told you that man was real for a long time. So thank you for bringing memorable characters to life. Okay, my next question for you. Your books often center around strong Black women in complex emotional spaces. Why has that been so important to you as a storyteller? And hello, hold on one second. Let me welcome Tiffany Jones, Paula McGowan, and Jennifer Copeland. Thank you for joining us. I don't know, some people are having problems getting on this evening, but I wanted to make sure I welcome everybody tonight. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Well, I think that part of what I try to do when I write romances is that I want to write stories that make sense,
Mm-hmm.
because with romance, there's a formula to it. There's actually a
Mm-hmm.
formula. Every romance writer knows what the formula is. But what are
Mm-hmm.
you going to do that's different? And
Yep.
I want readers to be able to identify with these women that I create because they are real. They have real issues. They have,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's health issues or past things that have happened to them in their past, things that are
Mm-hmm.
happening to them at their job, their family, so that they're complex, so that they're not these surface characters, that they're so beautiful and they have a wonderful life and all of these different types of
Mm-hmm.
things, because nobody lives that way. And
That is true.
so these are combinations of women that I know,
Okay.
circumstances that I find compelling to be able to write about and put these women in these particular situations. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
important for me to make sure that they are three-dimensional, maybe even
Gotcha.
four-dimensional,
Mm-hmm.
that they are more than just surface, that they have
Sorry.
these um, that they have these layers to them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's what draws the readers to them, and they can identify with them, because if they can't identify with one part of them, they can understand. And so you can see these women go through these different trials, trying to get to their happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something so far-fetched that I hate those stories that, well, if they just had a conversation, they could
Yeah.
fix it. you
Well, we're
know
Hallmark movies.
yeah, just sit down and just say whatever you have to say,
Mm-hmm.
you could fix it. So it has to be much more involved than that. And in order to be able to do that, you have to create characters that are complex enough to have issues that have to go beyond just a conversation.
Yeah.
That they are, because all of us, every day we are evolving and
Every day.
we are learning new things about ourselves. The way that we behaved 5 years ago isn't going to be the same way we behave now with the same circumstance. We learn by our mistakes. Our
Mm-hmm.
our childhood impacts who we are. Where we grew up impacts who we
Definitely.
are. So all of these different elements come into play when I'm creating, these women that I want to be true heroines, the
Yeah.
heroine of their own story, that even if
Mm-hmm.
they don't find the man, that they can still stand on their own. That is
Mm-hmm.
not, that be all the end all, that
Yeah.
they have become whole. And the readers follow them on that journey.
Yeah. And I think that's why, I'm gonna be honest, and I always tell everybody this, I usually don't like the heroines in people's stories, right? But I realize with you, and it's another Rochelle, that I really love your heroines because they're so complex. I can relate to them because I see myself in them as well. Because and that is just great writing because if you can't relate to the hero or the heroine, why are you reading the books? And
Right.
like I said, I usually don't like the heroines. I always tell them, like, I usually don't. Them heroes is my base, but but I really enjoy your heroines of your
Hmm.
stories. Yeah,
Hmm.
but it's a oh God, and I have the name of the book right, and for some reason right now I cannot. I was rushing because I have it here, but it's in a box. I I mean I bugged you so bad to write the second book. I mean I bugged you bad for that second story, and I cannot remember the name of it. It's bugging me. But the second story, the girl was she looked white. Oh
Oh,
God,
okay.
yeah.
Either a house, was it a house divided, or
Yes,
was
I
it
believe.
a house divided and
Mhm.
what mother never told me
Yes,
is the sequel.
yes, yep. And I bugged you so bad. I mean, I bugged, I bugged you so bad, but I enjoyed. I just wanted that story so bad, and I didn't think you were going to do it right, and you did, and I enjoyed. Thank you so much. 'Cause I really enjoyed, and you got to know the characters of why. Like, why do they act like this, or why do they behave, or whatever the situation about? That is probably one of my favorite books by you, even though you have way more. But that was, I don't know why that story kind of resonated, both books, the first and the second book. But I
Hmm.
enjoyed those stories and those heroines because, like I said, I usually don't like them. But
Oh yeah.
yeah. Mhm. I was like, "Oh my girl," I was trying to get those books out and I was running late. So I apologize why I could not, for some reason, couldn't remember the story name. So I want to share something with you. Um, there was a reader, her name was Denise Anderson, and she passed away. And oh, she bugged me to she wanted me to do she's my best friend. She wanted me to do this Java City. I ran this idea by her and she's like, girl, when you do it, you better get Donna Hill. You better get Donna Hill. And she loved you. And I, even though she's not here, I wanted to share that to you because she absolutely loved your books. Um,
Oh,
every last one of them. And I just wanted to share that with you that she
oh,
loved your
thank you.
books. And I was like, okay, I got to get her on here because at first I thought I was going to cry having you here because it reminded me of her. But I wanted to let you know that your books matter, you matter, your writing matters because even when she was sick, she passed away from cancer. I was reading her your stories. The last
Wow.
story I read to her was one of your books. So I wanted to share with you. Sorry of
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. But I wanted to share that just to let you know how much your books matter to our Black women. So
Thank you.
I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to
Thank
share that with
you.
you. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cry. I was trying not to, but I wanted to share that with you. I meant to share it to you off camera because I thought I would
Oh,
cry. But I was like, oh, I'm going to forget. Let me tell her now. So your books absolutely matter. So thank you. We're going to move on before I start boohooing, boohooing on here. So I have another question. Ooh, okay. You had, ooh, I'm sorry.
it's okay.
Please forgive me, y'all. Okay, you had such a rich and influential career. What continues to inspire you to write?
Oh wow, because I think uh, I get inspired by the world around me, right?
Mhm,
So I get inspired by an article in a newspaper or something that happens on
mhm,
television or a conversation that I overheard. And so there's always something there. Like I just finished the book, just finished off two books. And so there were some
ooh,
days in between that I wasn't writing and I
yeah,
felt lost. I couldn't figure out
mm,
what is wrong. Why do you feel so off balance? Because I wasn't
mhm,
writing. And
Wow.
so it's everything. It's just it's life. It's being there's so many untold stories about us. And so
Mhm.
over the past few years, I've sort of moved a little bit into writing more historical type stories, and or
Mhm.
have a historical element to them. And as I started doing this, I started thinking about all of the untold stories throughout history that Black
Mhm.
people have played a part in. And so, how can I bring that to life? So, I don't consider myself a historian. So, I would not,
Okay.
do a story about, Harriet Tubman. That's not what I would do. But I may
Got
do a
you.
story about that time period and put my
Mhm.
own people there. Um,
Okay.
so I really admire the Black writers now that are
Mhm.
really diving into
Oh.
resurrecting
Mhm.
these Black powerful women and telling their stories. So I'm not them. So I'm not in that lane. But the lane that I would be in is, like, for example, in Confessions in B flat. So
Mhm.
that was a story that took place during the civil rights movement, because that
Mhm.
was that was my time period. So
Yeah.
the story surrounded that. And so what I did, I would like drop in um, you know, Malcolm X and his speeches, and the March on Washington, and things like
Mhm.
that. But that was sort of the backdrop to my relationship story, my two main
Got you.
characters. When I did I Am Aya, that was historical in that it was generational. And as she's
Mhm.
discovering things about her family, the reader is taken to different times in history that her
Mhm.
family existed. So
I love that.
You see the Tulsa riots, you see,
Mhm.
the Chicago fire, you see the Depression, you see these different things, but it's not specifically about that or a particular
Got
person.
you. But I
So,
enjoy those. I enjoyed that book. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I
mhm,
really love to get a glimpse on every generation. I love how you wrote that story because I felt like I was in really there when each time you went somewhere else in a different different part. I was like, wow, I didn't realize I'm not a big fan of historical books, but I didn't realize how engrossed I was into those backstories. I was, oh, wait a minute. So I enjoyed it. I didn't mean to
yeah,
interrupt. I
but
apologize.
it's okay. That's okay. And so, going down that path for
Hmm.
me, like the book that'll be out next year,
Hmm.
um, that is about the rise of the Black middle class because of the Pullman porters that rode the
Hmm.
trains, rode the rails.
Hmm.
So that's the backdrop, and that's the time period.
Hmm.
The 30s and the 40s, and so those are the things that I find myself being drawn to now as I sort of
Okay.
move into like the next chapter of
Okay.
my writing life. Um,
Hmm.
and so those are some of the things that I've been thinking about, and wanting to explore in that fashion. So there's always things, and if you move into history, I
Hmm.
can set my characters in a particular time and bring that time period to life, without it being, a whole narrative about, the horrible things that happened to us or whatever,
Hmm.
but just set
Hmm.
us in that time period. So that's kind of the direction that I've been moving in. I'm still doing
Hmm.
contemporary stuff as well.
Okay.
Um, the next book coming from Harlequin is actually about the publishing industry. So
Whoa.
my
Whoa.
character is an author, and
Hmm.
the guy that she falls for is the owner of the publishing company. And
Oh,
so it's
she's
the
man.
backstory about what happens,
Uh,
in publishing, and what her life is like, and um, just really, and again, it's about a woman who has to have her own voice, has to have a voice, and not only through her writing, but in her life. And
Okay.
she can no longer sort of like take direction from this man who has all of this power. And so
Mm-hmm.
we see what that is like in the corporate world. How men have this power and how they can
Mm-hmm.
control things. And, is she willing to, let all of that go so she can be whole? So that'll be out next year also. Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, look at she letting us know. Okay. Will this be a series or would this be a standalone?
It is a standalone,
Mm-hmm.
but the characters will be revisited in the next book. There's some rollover characters, so it's not a
Okay.
sequel
Got
per
you.
se, but some of the characters you'll see in the follow up book. Yeah. So
Okay.
actually working on that now.
Okay, thank you. See, look, I can't wait. Now I want to read it. Uh, okay, one more question, and then after that, we will go into a little game. And I renamed it, but look, I didn't forgot it because I didn't get the updated version right. I can't remember the new name I named it. But here's my next question for you. Um, where is it? Okay, what's one book you wish you had written, or one that changed your life as a writer?
Oh, let's see. A book that I wrote that changed my life,
Uh,
or
okay. Oh, well, it could be okay. What's one book you wish you had written, or one that had changed your life as a writer? Here, go ahead, take it. Goodbye.
let's see. Hmm. That's a good
Welcome,
question.
Tony. Welcome, Lynette.
Let's see. A book that changed my life. Um, wow. Hmm.
So many, right?
Yeah. Uh, of my own, I would probably say a book that changed my, not so much changed my life, but changed
Mm-hmm.
my view of myself as a writer was when I
Mm-hmm.
wrote Rhythms. And
Oh,
um,
oh my God.
yeah, so Rhythms um, let me know that I could do um, this big book, a big story, that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to be contained in the framework of a straight romance, that I could do, I could sprinkle history, I could
Mm-hmm.
do something generational. That's the book. I think that's the book that you were talking about. Because
Actually,
I did Rhythms, and then What Mother Never Told Me is
yeah.
is the sequel to
Mm-hmm.
Rhythms, which I
That's not the
didn't do
book.
until like 10 years later.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so I think that book sort of opened my mind to what I was capable of
Hmm.
being able to do. Um, so I think that that's
Okay.
probably it. That would be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's so look how God works, right? That was the book I read to my friend. That was the book I read to her.
Rhythms.
I finished the book.
Oh,
Yes. And I'm just,
it's just coming to me
whew, I read that book to her. Yeah,
now.
I read it, and then the next day she passed away. It took me a minute to read it because she kept, she was sick. But
Hmm.
that was the book. You kind of took my breath away when you named the book because I was off camera. I was going to tell you, but
Yeah.
yeah, that
Wow.
was the book I read to her.
Wow.
And because she was like, I'm too tired to read it myself. Can you read it to me? And I read that book to her. That was her final book.
Wow.
That yeah, and it was yours. So I hope you, mm, yeah. hmm So I'm gonna stop before I start crying again. So let's get to My last question. Whew, I'm trying not to cry, you guys. I'm sorry. Um, can you please give us a sneak peek of something of your next project and tell us a little bit of your current project, your current release? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just.
Okay,
I don't want to cry.
um, so I mentioned it briefly. So both I have two books coming out next year. So one book is Nola and Baldwin. And that's coming out
Mm-hmm.
from Amistad, and it is about. It takes place in the 1930s and 40s, and it is about the rise of the black middle class and the Pullman porters. And so it's a journey because
Mm-hmm.
they are in the deep South in Mississippi where they start off. They move to Chicago. They go to New York. They come back to Mississippi again. And so in it, I guess the metaphor for the story is the railroad. So the railroad takes you on a journey
Mm-hmm.
from place to place, and their relationship
Mm-hmm.
is on a journey also. So, you we're dealing with, um, the racism, during that time,
Mm-hmm.
the riots, not being able to work in certain places, what he was up against, as a black man working on the trains during that time
Mm-hmm.
period. Because when I was doing, my research on George Pullman, who started the Pullman Porters, um, he decided that the best people to hire were freed slaves because they knew how to work.
Mm.
And so he
Wow.
hired black men to be the porters on his trains. And that's basically how they started. So they were the precursors to the red caps that you see on Amtrak. So that's where all of that came from.
Oh, I would have known
Um,
that.
yeah.
I would have never known.
So it's
Wow.
about Nola, and Baldwin,
Mm-hmm.
and their journey, finding each other,
Mm-hmm.
losing each other, and what they're up against during this very difficult time period in American history. So that's that one, and then Unfinished is the story that I was telling you about the publishing company, and so
Mm-hmm.
those two characters, my main character is an aspiring writer, who meets the publisher of the company, who has basically come there to sort of save this small company, and he's British. He's a black Brit. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they go to London, um, and she just really has to. He's the man who's always been in control of everything, and he wants to
Got you.
control her as well. He wants to just not control her career, but also her life. But it's who he is as a person. It's not mean spirited.
Yeah.
That's just sort of the way he is. But she has to find her own
Got you.
strength to be able to walk away from that. So it's
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's, it's their journey as well. And there's some interesting little twist in there as well, that you
As
probably
always.
normally can't get away with in a romance,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Ooh.
think I kind of pulled it off. So we'll
All
see.
right. Look. She telling. She giving us caffeinated confessions. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh my goodness. So
Okay.
you were right. It was House Divided, and the second book I kept bugging you for was The Other Sister.
The other sister. The other sister. Yeah, that's what it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
The
I
other
had to
sister.
go look it up. I was like, wait a minute. Yep. I was like I said, I was trying to go find it before the chat. But girl, you wrote those books. And I love those stories. I absolutely love those stories. So I enjoyed. Thank you actually for writing that second book. Like I said, I bugged you endlessly for the second book.
Mhm.
Girl, now as an author, I'm like, damn, Sharon, you went a little hard about that, about for the second book. But as a fangirl, I appreciate it. All right. So I want, I want to thank you. We do have a little game and a giveaway. So
Okay.
if you have I haven't said this because look, we have been talking, and when Miss Donna Hill talks, we listen and we enjoy. So I want to say thank you. I had such a wonderful time listening to how you started to write and why you continue to write and the new releases you have coming out in your current releases. If you have a question, please put it into the comments and I promise we'll get to them. We are going to close up in a little bit, but let's play a little game and then we'll do a giveaway. Welcome, William. It's nice to have you here. He says, so many masterpieces Donna wrote, from romance to women's fiction to historical. Donna covers so much ground with excellence.
Hi,
Yes, she
William.
has. Yes, and he is telling nothing but the truth. He couldn't have said it better than that. Hey, all right. So now I remember I changed. So these are called caffeinated confessions. So are you ready to play this game with us, Miss Donna?
Oh God.
Scandalous,
Okay.
right? All right. Okay.
Okay.
Would you? Which one is your favorite series? The Lawsons of Louisiana or Pause for Men?
Losses of Louisiana.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
them. I love them. But I like the
Losses of
Pause for
Louisiana.
Men too because it was older women. Because it was finally, even though I was a little younger when
Yeah.
that those came out, I just liked because they were older.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was different. It was a little quirky. It was a
Hmm.
little, they all had um, different sets of skills, and you could
Yep.
build on the stories. So it
Yep.
was pretty cool. That was a fun series to write. And I
Yep.
didn't start off thinking about doing a series. But they all sort of, spoke that they
Really?
needed their own story. I forgot about
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Well, I yeah, I enjoy the Lawsons too, but I my favorite is the Pause for Men. Okay, are you ready?
hmm
Would you rather? Okay, excuse me, I had to burp and it wouldn't come. Would you rather? Uh, okay, wait a minute. You know how you write fast? Fall in love in a brownstone in Brooklyn. Okay, would you rather one of your characters fall in love in Brooklyn or a beach or on a beach in California, in the Carolinas? I'm sorry. I don't know what you can tell I was writing fast. I apologize.
um, I would say, um, I mean, aesthetically, probably a beach,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
personally, I would say a brownstone, only because brownstones are sort of in my DNA. I grew up in
Yeah.
a brownstone. I lived around brownstones all my life. If you've read any of my books, at some point or the other, my
Hmm.
characters wind up in a brownstone. They visit,
Yep.
they live there, whatever. So I would probably say brownstone.
Okay. All right. Okay, next question. Would you rather give up writing plots and twists or give up writing steamy love scenes?
Hmm. Might get some blowback with this one. I would probably rather give up steamy love scenes.
Yeah, I'm
And
all for it.
the reason I say that is because, as much as people may not realize, those are the most difficult scenes to actually write.
Girl, I'm
Um,
ready to get somebody else to do it.
yeah, because sometimes I think, maybe I can go back and pull a love scene from one of my earlier books and stick it in here. Because it's like,
Oh
oh
my
God, really? Like, how many
God.
ways can you do this? You know what
Oh,
I mean?
I'm so
So I would
happy to
probably,
know
if
that
I
you
had a
feel that
choice,
way. Oh my
yeah,
God, I'm happy to know that you feel that way because I'm like, look, I'm ready for them just to hold hands and get connection like that because I'd be over it trying to think of other ways. But you, to me, you do it flawlessly, even though you said it's difficult or not difficult, but it's like, come on, you do them
yeah,
well. Yeah, you do them
yeah.
well to me. All right, next question. All right, hold on. Would you rather write to Earth, Wind, and Fire or the Isley Brothers?
Mm, let's see. Isley Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think the Isley Brothers. Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. All right. Would you rather It's a love scene in your book. Would you
Mhm.
rather them make love to Luther Vandross or Freddie Jackson?
Luther.
Yeah,
That's a no brainer.
yeah, man, that man voice is. Ugh. Okay. Would you rather have lunch with one of your fans or one of your book or one of your characters? It don't matter.
That's
We ain't gonna be mad if you say a character. Cause honey, I'm going for
uh,
Quentin.
okay. So one of my fans or one of my characters. Oh God. I gotta be. I probably one of my fans. Yeah,
Hmm.
probably one of my fans because like I've lived with the character. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
Um. So yeah, probably one of the fans just to kind of
Okay.
put
Okay. I
some.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Now, right, like when I was writing those questions down, I'm like, damn, that seems kind of petty, right? But I promise you, my heart wasn't like when I wrote it. It was not like that. Okay, so last question. No matter what you get at either of these places, are you team Starbucks? Are you team Dunkin' Donuts?
Am I team what?
Dunkin' Donuts or team Starbucks? No matter what you get at them.
Oh, Dunkin' Donuts. I don't like Starbucks. For
I
all of the
know.
Starbucks lovers, you
Me, I
know,
am.
that's
I
great, but
am.
I don't like Starbucks. I don't like the taste of their coffee. I think it's too expensive. It's just
Yeah.
like no.
Yeah,
So
hey,
and
I
Dunkin'
ain't mad.
Donuts has the best donuts and it's cheap.
Yeah. I'm not mad at you. Thank you so much for playing caffeinated confessions. So thank you. I hope
Sure.
you had a good time.
Yes.
We have a giveaway tonight. Can you tell us what the giveaway is, Miss Donna?
The giveaway is a signed copy of my last novel, I Am Aya. So that
Ooh,
goes to
okay, let's go. Okay. Can well, thank you guys for joining us. So if you can give me a number between 1 and 10, put it in the comment, and you will be entered into the giveaway. All right. While we are waiting for them to put their numbers up here, and it's the number is going to win the one that gets the closest. You can't go over the closest to our magic number. All right. Come on, put a number in, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, all right. One last question. What do you hope readers feel when they close a Donna Hill book?
Satisfied.
Mm. And I'm always satisfied. I don't think I've read a bad book from you.
Yeah,
But
I want them to be satisfied
yeah,
and to believe that what is written is possible.
oh, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. Thank you for saying that was different. I like that. All right. So is that the last of the numbers? I'm so
Yes.
happy I have a signed copy. Okay, Tony, we know you get all the books. We know you get all the books. So okay. So
Tony.
I know you know who Mama Tony is. All right. So the winner is Jennifer Copeland. You came the closest without going over. Congratulations, you are tonight's winner. And please no, please text me because you have my number. Text me and I will give Miss Donna Hill your information. Do you need? You said an autograph copy, correct?
Yes. So I can
Okay.
send that to you
Text
from
me
my
your.
stash.
Oh, thank you, Miss Donna. We appreciate you. Please text me your mailing address. Lord, it wasn't coming. So I want to say thank you. That is our time. I want to say thank you very much for joining us tonight. I had such a good time. Such a good time. This is probably my longest interview, and it felt like it only lasted 10 minutes. So
I
thank you
know. What
so
about so
much.
fast? What about so fast? And
No, and there's two
you
questions.
have to have Alicia Evans on at some point if you haven't already.
I did. I have,
Okay.
and we're going to actually do something special with her, her and Eva Tremaine coming up real soon.
Oh
So,
yes. Okay.
yes, we want something really soon. So, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I had such a good time. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for your contributions to the literary world. And also, I want to say
Yes.
thank you. In Brab, we have an award, the Donna Hill Breakout Author. I want to thank you
Good.
for allowing us to use that because the winners are so excited. Like, oh, I got an award with Miss Donna Hill name on it. So I want to say
I
thank
was
you
so honored.
for
That
that.
was like, what? Oh my
Yeah,
God. That is
because
wonderful.
I
Thank you.
believe in giving flowers, and I feel like you guys, that I said, the first generation of writers didn't often get your kudos, and that this is my way of showing you guys that your books matter, and thank you very much because you
Thank
deserve
you. I
all the
appreciate
recognition. So thank you.
can't do it
Thank you,
without
Miss
you
Donna.
also. Can't do it without you also. I really, really appreciate it. And thank everybody for coming and for supporting me and all the other writers that you
Mhm,
love. Buy our books,
mhm,
tell your friends about the books.
mhm,
Don't give them your books. Like
mhm.
let them go get their own books. Because we can't do it without you.
Yes,
Thank you.
exactly. And don't be sharing
Right. Don't
copies.
be sharing
Just say
copies.
go get it, or help them. Give them a couple dollars if they need a couple dollars. Go ahead and give it.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for joining Java City Larry Lounge. If you'd like to be a guest one day, please email me at brabonline@gmail.com, and I promise to get back with you. Just remember, every time you see an author sit here at Java City, they are supporting the Reading Warriors Choice Awards to keep the awards going. So if you want to know more about that, please email me. Have a great evening, and always do it with the book and a strong cup of coffee. All right. Have a good
Good
evening,
night,
guys.
everyone. Thank you.
Good coffee. Don't go to cheap.